Husker fans, the offseason is not getting old. Let me tell you, each and every week we've got news all over the place, personnel changes, comings and goings. And of course, Greg Peterson's on the line from Husker Online to help us break it all down here at the Voice of College Football, our Nebraska live show every Tuesday right now, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock where it counts there in Lincoln, Nebraska. And please leave your comments and your questions there in the live chat. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. You feeling okay? You're getting back?
Yeah, getting back.
Getting there?
Yeah. Working on it.
Working on it. Okay.
Day by day.
As you folks can see on the banner there, we would love to have a sponsor for this show and for this channel. So please let us know if you would like to benefit from sponsoring our show here at the Voice of College Football. We've done it now 53 consecutive weeks with Greg. And also, whether it's a combination of another team or whomever you would like to sponsor. But, of course, I'm talking to Nebraska folks right now. If you would like to sponsor, hit me up right there, MarkRogersTV at Gmail. All right, another week, Greg, another list of players to talk about. Some coming, some going. Let's start with this Northern Illinois transfer, Omar Brown.
Yeah, that's a big pickup for Nebraska. 6'1" type guy that I think is going to come in here and compete right away for starting corner position. He's played a lot of football at Northern Iowa and at a high level, and Nebraska's really retooled that secondary with the influx of transfers and freshmen, and I really like what they're doing back there. Obviously, Nebraska's lost 4 starters basically, and JoJo Doman, and Omar Brown might be a guy that can also maybe cover a little bit of that spot, but. And while I'm, bringing up that JoJo Doman spot, I think another guy that might fit into that mold is, true freshman coming in here is Jaden Gould. He's a high-ranked recruit, and I think he's got that body type that he could turn into somebody like a JoJo Doman here in the future. So I like what they're doing. Omar Brown just adds another transfer in here, and I think what is it? They've added about 17 now, I think, out of the transfer portal, combined out of the transfer portal and incoming freshmen that are already here enrolled in classes on campus. So, I mean, that's big that you're going to have that many fresh bodies, new faces here when spring practice starts in about a month.
Not coming up with too many stats or background information for Mr. Brown, but we'll talk about him again in future weeks.
He's 6'1", he's 205. Let's see, he his former teammate is Chris Kolarvik there from Northern Iowa. So Coach Fisher had got in touch with him and had liked everything about him, and he was a true freshman at Northern Iowa back in 2019, and he racked up 77 tackles and 6 interceptions. And he was AP third-team All-American defensive freshman of the year. So, he was pretty good there as a freshman, and he had 30 tackles and 5 pass breakups as well. In that shortened spring season that they had to do. And last year he had 33 tackles before he had an injury. And he had 8 tackles when they played Iowa State last year. So, he can play with the big boys, that's for sure. And he'll be here ready to go off of his injury. So I like him. And he was originally a 2-star coming out of high school out of Minneapolis. So there you go.
Okay, everyone.
There's just cliff notes on him.
Very nice. So that's UNI transfer Omar Brown in the fold. Alan, appreciate you being here and encouraging everyone to hit the like button. And Moonbot's here, of course. And we will get to your comments and questions in just a second. So that's the deal on Omar Brown. Another possibility is TCU running back A.J. Allen. He has visited.
Yeah, and that's pretty big because he's he's a TCU commit at the moment. He was committed to Brian Applewhite, who is now the Nebraska running back coach. And he came in while Nebraska was hosting a junior day event this weekend, and he came in on a visit on his own, and had a really good time. Checked out campus, and thought that everything here was pretty cool. So that would be a nice pickup if Nebraska could get AJ Allen to flip. He's a three-star recruit out of Monroe, Louisiana. So you also have that Mickey Joseph tie that obviously those two know each other as well. So yeah, you like Nebraska's chances right now to land AJ, and he's that typical running back size. He's 5'11", 182 pounds, and obviously he had a pretty good relationship with Brian Applewhite. So everything looks good for the Huskers to add one more recruit here as they finish up this class here. With this is the obviously recruiting fans know that this is the last full week of recruiting here before signing day number 2. So this is the time, and that pretty much I think would round out what Nebraska is planning to do, adding high school talent in this class. But I still think that they're probably looking to add a couple of big bodies on that defensive line, and at least another offensive lineman somewhere here in the transfer portal.
AJ's committed to, received 7 offers. We got TCU, obviously committed back in August there, Louisiana Tech, Mississippi State, Nebraska, New Mexico State, and a few others. Rivals has him as the 29th rated running back in the nation, 23rd rated player in the state of Louisiana. That per capita produces more NFL players than anywhere.
Yeah, and you got a pretty good connection to that state now on your coaching staff with Mickey Joseph and Bill Bush. So pretty unique little pipeline Nebraska's starting to build here, which Nebraska was already pretty successful recruiting the state of Louisiana as it was, throughout the years here. So, obviously Stanley Morgan Jr. comes to mind. He had a pretty good career here. So, they've been very successful in Louisiana, and I expect them to keep hammering that state and be able to recruit heavy down there. Along with, like we just mentioned, with Brian Applewhite having his Texas ties. He was out recruiting on the road down in Texas, and he said he got just tremendous welcomes everywhere he went. Every school he went to, he said that everybody was saying GBR to him. So, yeah, he's got a great relationship down in Texas, so that obviously helps. So, and while we were talking about Mickey Joseph, he's been out heavily here. He's taken over the in-state reins, obviously, on the offense, and he's been out to all the local schools in Omaha and Lincoln and everywhere in the state that counts, and has gotten to know everybody. And then I know we had a question a couple weeks ago about the recruiting in the St. Louis area. And so Mickey Joseph has been hitting St. Louis heavily now, and is getting tremendous response as well. So I expect that to step it up. And you see overall Nebraska recruiting right now, just sending out piles of offers right now, especially in that 500-mile range that we always talk about. And a lot of these offers are no-brainers that you're kind of wondering what took them so long to send out some of these offers. But obviously, Coach Bush has been down recruiting in Kansas, and looking at quarterbacks down there, and you got coming in this weekend. You got some other J.J. Cole. He's a top-ranked quarterback out of Iowa, who's been here to Lincoln several times already. We've talked about him on this show before. His dad, Jamie Cole, runs the Cole's Kicking Academy. And he'll be in to meet Mark Whipple for the first time. And he really admires Mark Whipple and what he did at Pitt. And he's very excited to see what the new changes are going to be like, with Mickey Joseph and Mark Whipple and Brian Applewhite and then Coach Raiola as well. So he's very intrigued about what they're planning on doing. So a lot of moving parts right now. And like I said, I mean, they're recruiting heavily right now in this 2023 class and the 2024 class.
Folks, if you enjoy the show, and for you regulars who are here every week, we appreciate you being here. Please bring some folks with you. So let people know that that love Nebraska football, or just say we've got other college football fan bases represented as well, to come on in every Tuesday, 6 Central. So bring them on in. Let's build the audience here for Huskers Live. Moonbot says the player interviews on Husker Online have been awesome.
Yeah, Sean's been really kicking butt at that. And you actually have a little bit to do with that, Mark. You didn't know about since Sean started using StreamYard, and I helped him out a lot with that since that's what we use here every week. So yeah, that's been tremendous, and that has a lot to do with our relationship with ABM. And being able to line up all these recruits and all these incoming transfers through the NIL deal. So we've got. I mean, Sean's booked up this week. He's got at least one interview every day this week. And when it's all said and done, he's gonna have everybody knocked out. Every newcomer in this class knocked out here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So whether that's everyone Husker Online on the rival site, or the video interviews right here with Greg and Sean right on YouTube, just go to Husker Online right here on YouTube to get your video clips, football, basketball right there.
And those interviews are also they're streamed on our Facebook Live. They're on Vimeo. I believe they're on our Twitter as well. So there's several ways that you can watch it. It's on Husker Online video on the YouTube, and it's you can go to our site huskeronline.com and go directly to the link there as well.
Now, this time last week, the news was fairly new that Will Honas had hit the transfer portal, and now Will Honas has made his decision, and he's going to the Big 12 in Kansas State.
Yeah, joining forces with Adrian Martinez again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good for him. The 7th-year guy and the 6th-year guy. I wonder what the average age on that Kansas State roster is going to be looking like when they start playing next August. So
that is a veteran team.
But good for Will. I mean, obviously he's a great player. Just been injury riddled his entire career, unfortunately, but when he has been healthy, he's been a heck of a player and been a very productive linebacker. So good for him. He gets another shot. And, I mean, he's a rare one that, he won that, the NCAA granted him another medical year. So I think COVID probably has a lot to do with that the NCAA has been feeling pretty generous lately. But, good for him.
We've got... Our guy Jeff is asking about Noah Pollack-Gates and how much he may play this season, and any news on defensive ends.
Yeah, I expect Noah Pollack-Gates to take a big leap this year. He played a lot on special teams last year and played at a high level, and that's been a pretty crowded room back there, and now there's plenty of open spots, and he's going to be one of those guys right in there competing. So I really like I like his chances to get into that rotation at safety. So yeah, I'm expecting big things. Defensive end wise, right now, nothing really new. Obviously, you're always looking at those pass rush guys, and unfortunately, everybody covets that, and so they're after whoever's interested and has open spots, basically. So, but like I mentioned earlier, obviously they're still looking to add some of those big bodies, and there's some guys they missed out on, and losing Tony Tuioti to Oregon had a lot to do with that as well. But that's the way recruiting is, and you kind of had to go to a quick plan B, and they're working it as hard as they can right now.
Yeah. So the deal on Noah Pollack-Gates, so he's only played 4 games. So he's been on campus for 3 football seasons, 2019, 20, and 21. He's played 4 games. I'm looking at his evaluation coming in. Rivals had him as the 5th rated player in the state of Arizona, 11th rated safety in the country, and he was number 116 overall. He was up there.
He
They
was
should be getting something out of him.
well, yeah, but also he's a very different young man than he was coming out of high school. I first met him down in San Antonio at the All-American Bowl, and he had that attitude. His ranking, he had that attitude and that cockiness about him and stuff. But moving away from home as, a 17-year-old early enrollee, he had some real trouble adjusting to college life. And almost gave up a couple of times, and really went into a depression for a while. Thought about giving up the game of football, actually. So he's kind of had to work his way back into a football mentality, and that happened last year. Last fall camp is when it started to click again for him. So that's why I expect him to take a big step up this year.
It's a great reminder that the recruiting rankings can tell us how fast they are, how strong they are, how high they can jump, how quick they can shift and turn the hips, how well they can track the football in the air, and all those things that gets evaluated from the physical standpoint. But you can never account for just different levels of adjustment that different young men have to go through to make it work.
He's doing a lot better now, obviously. So
Alan's saying Marcus is waking up. I wish, Alan, I was moving couches and tables and dressers all day, moving my son into his new house. So we're all happy for him. Congratulations to him, and just trying to fit sectionals through doorways that were built in 1910 that aren't the most accommodating, those sorts of things. So,
Does that mean that you get a new studio now?
No, this is it. This is it. Yeah, I could have like an off-campus studio because he's right around the corner.
His old room.
He's close. Yeah. Well, that too. Yeah. Bam, right upstairs. Right upstairs. So we'll Honas off to Kansas State. Linebacker Jackson Hanna has found a home with the Tennessee Volunteers.
Going home, so to speak, but a little bit closer to Rocky Top. He's a Nashville kid. Came here highly rated. Another, heck of a player. And he played at Montgomery Bell Academy there in Nashville, a powerhouse school, and was one of the star players there. And I don't know, he's kind of got lost in the shuffle here. He came in with a group of guys, and um, it just was really tough for him to ever crack the rotation. And then, they brought in, obviously, they bring in a lot of linebackers each year. And I don't know, he just never did pan out and come up to the level of Big Ten football under Coach Fernander's defensive scheme. And obviously, I guess he saw the writing on the wall and probably missed home. I'm sure, because I talked to his dad. I used to during the recruiting process quite often, and I know that everybody had been pulling for him, but it just didn't work out. I hope he gets a shot for the Vols. I'm not sure what their linebacker room looks like right now, but I know he'll go in there and give it all he's got and compete for a job.
Usually when we talk about these players and they've been on campus and played a year or 2 or 3 years or whatever, I'll go to College Football Reference, and that outlines, the full stat line for everybody. And even if a guy hasn't played what we consider he hasn't played, meaning he hasn't played his position, they've usually played special teams, and they'll be listed to have played, 10 games and they had like 3 tackles or something like that. But Jackson Hanna, he doesn't have anything listed. So apparently he hasn't seen the field in a game.
I can't ever recall seeing him in a game. Yeah.
And I'll spit out some numbers that you're well aware of.
Is too, though, Nebraska, it seems that they're always trailing, and it's hard to get those reserves in there sometimes.
And I'll spit out some rankings that you're familiar with. Rivals had him as the 18th rated inside linebacker in the country, and he was the 9th rated player in the state of Tennessee, and so he was 4-star with 18 offers.
He was a Mike Riley commit too, so he wasn't a Scott Frost guy. Credit to him for sticking it out, with Coach Frost for so long.
Casey Higley is asking us, Greg, Mark, is Nebraska the biggest winner in the portal this year? Well, this portal doesn't stop. So, so the rankings are going to change. If anybody has rankings, which I know that there are rankings out there for the transfer portal now. So we not only have recruiting rankings, now we've got transfer portal rankings. So you can find those out there. They practically should change by the day.
Yeah, really.
Now, my thought there is, has Nebraska been successful? Absolutely. And a lot of the guys that Greg's outlined as they have signed aren't the type guys that most college football fans, including myself, and I watch as much as anybody, are going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember seeing that guy play this game and this game and this game. We're talking about a lot of lower level FBS guys and some division or FCS guys. But that were high level players at their positions at those levels. And we all know from watching the FCS that at the highest levels, it's very competitive. Well, Samari Toure is a prime example from last year's team. So I think even though the name recognition is not high, outside of Casey Thompson, Trey Palmer, and a couple others, that they have helped themselves considerably. But in terms of being the biggest winner, oh my goodness, USC's working on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like you said, it's never ending. And but yeah, obviously, I think USC probably tops everybody's list right now. If I see, if I have access to any of these that it looks like, and I think LSU obviously, and a lot of these, it's funny because you got Nebraska lumped in here with a lot of schools that have coaching changes that just took place, which obviously helps. I mean, Oklahoma obviously too is doing really well in the transfer portal. So, Nebraska's got to be right up there, at least in the top 10, I would have to imagine. But I think the key thing is when you talk about that is that Nebraska did what they had to do in order to, they added a lot of veteran guys that have played and played at a high level, and guys that can come in right away and help your team out. Influx of talent that you're not usually that you're used to around here, taking this route. And I'm leaving out some of those JUCOs that are coming in as well. You're adding a lot of older guys to your roster, and I think I joked about Kansas State, but yeah, Nebraska's going to have some pretty old guys too on their roster. Casey Thompson, my goodness, is going to be 25 years old almost here coming up. You mentioned Casey Thompson and Chubba Purdy. You add two arms in here that are going to compete. And most people expect the job to be Casey Thompson's, but I expect Chubba Purdy not to hand it over to him and compete hard for it, and and be the better guy for doing that, and then take over the reins after Casey Thompson leaves. So I love what they've done, adding key pieces to rooms. Obviously the quarterback is the easy one to say, but look at what they've added at the wide receiver spot. Look at what they've added to the running back spot. You're replacing a lot of key losses. And, obviously it leaves the big question mark is the offensive line. And I think you're going to see some guys shifting around there. And, some guys have to swallow their pride. But I think it's going to be all for the better. There's going to be a lot of competition there, obviously. Getting used to the way Coach Raiola runs things in that offensive line room. And then on defense, obviously there's a gap there. On that defensive line that you lost some key players there, and you got some guys that are going to be dependent on to step up, and you got some other guys, some newcomers that are going to have a shot here to get themselves in the rotation. And like we said, I wouldn't be surprised if they add a couple more here when it's all said and done.
Folks, Greg's here. I'm here. We're talking Nebraska football. Can it get any better than that? We got Moonbot here, and Alan's here, and Dewey's here, and a bunch of regulars, and we've got about 82 on board. So hit that like button. Please do us a favor there. And subscribe right here, the Voice of College Football in Nebraska, and be back here next Tuesday at 6 Eastern. And bring some folks with you. Joe Reeves says, Jordan Riley. Y'all talked about Jordan Riley a ton last year. He didn't really do anything. Played in 10 games, had 7 tackles. Do you expect him to make a jump this year?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And he made a big jump in his first year here last year already. But yeah, he's a huge human being. And, he was playing behind Damian Daniels, who had a really good year. So, but he was in there, he was spell Damian Daniels. And when he was in there, he played well. Did have a couple of moments. But yeah, I really expect him to come out on fire here in spring ball and take over a leadership role there on that defensive line.
Brandon, good to see you. Thanks for joining us live. Says first time I've ever been able to watch the show live. I normally catch it the day after while I'm working. Good to have you here, Brandon.
Absolutely.
All right. This might be a difficult one to answer. Do you think next season we'll continue to focus on the transfer portal like we did this offseason? I got to think everybody needs to focus on the transfer portal from here on out, unless the rules change. The transfer portal is college football free agency. So to me, it's shouldn't be the backbone of your roster. That's still the recruiting classes, but it's got to be free agency. It's got to be something that you're looking at to supplement and fill in those gaps and those voids and gets a few impact players.
And like we've talked about, it should slow down some with, when you lose that free year, that free one time, eligibility, not having to or sit out. So it's gonna slow down, obviously, but I think it goes as your roster changes, you've got to take advantage of the transfer portal. I mean, because obviously you're going to lose guys. It happens all the time. It's still happening. Um, so I think that's one quick fix on how to you know replace what you just lost. But you're never going to go away from the high school recruiting model, and it was just a strange year that they were forced to do this just because of the scholarship numbers that they were limited to. Um, but once you get back into normalcy with your numbers, there's still going to be you're going to be still looking to add 20 to 25 incoming high school freshmen each and every year, and then use the transfer portal, like I said, to kind of supplement vital positions of need.
Husker Football Archive. Wow. That seems pretty intense, exhaustive. Football Archive.
Old.
Very nice. Old. But that's a good thing.
He's got
Husker Football Archive.
The old school Herbie there. So
Good to have you here. Who's projecting as the starting running back? Well, to me, Ramir Johnson was the most impressive last year, but I don't think that they've got a dominant one guy that's going to carry it 25 times.
Yeah, it's going to be an open competition, absolutely, here when spring ball starts. And, you can't forget about Gabe Urban, who was the starter before he went down with a season-ending injury. And that's when Ramir Johnson stepped up. So, yeah, I mean, those two guys you expect to start things off with. And you got Marquise Stepp coming back as well. And you got Marquise Yant, all with experience. So, those four guys are going to lead things off, and then with all these new faces in the running back room, it's going to be one of those really interesting position battles to keep your eye on during the spring and also into the fall. And I think you can the quarterback room, obviously, I think in spring is going to be right up there with that running back room. But I think most eyes are going to be on those two position battles starting things off, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
Javon Bergen says, what do you guys think about the analysts? I don't know who these guys are, but anyway, these analysts projecting Nebraska going to the Rose Bowl. I did see one projection. I think it came from a particular writer, maybe a 247 Sports, that picked Nebraska to go 9-3.
Yeah, there was. He predicted Nebraska to make the Rose Bowl, which would mean that you played Ohio State in the Big Ten title game and lost. And what you probably got a 10-2 record, 9-3, but that means that you beat Wisconsin and Iowa most likely, and I don't know, probably upset Oklahoma. So those are bold. That's a real bold prediction. I'm sure Husker fans are loving seeing that, but I think with what's gone on the past few years, I think Nebraska fans have tempered those expectations that they have going into the season. They're not so unrealistic anymore, and like we've talked about a lot, making a bowl game, showing progress. That's what you want to see. But on that, you don't want to go to the CarQuest Bowl. You don't want to go to the Pinstripe Bowl. That means you had a 6-6 season or a 7-5. You want to go to Jacksonville. You want to go to Nashville. You want to go to Orlando. Those are the bowls that you're targeting to see real progress here. Making the Rose Bowl, I think, is a little far-fetched with what we've seen. But who knows? It's a funny game, and that scenario I just kind of laid out, obviously it can happen. if you go over to Ireland and take care of Northwestern, and like I said, you come home for a couple of tune-ups before you get Oklahoma here in Lincoln, under a new coaching staff. But obviously, Oklahoma is Oklahoma. But it's possible that you could upset Oklahoma.
Sure it is.
And
At
then,
home?
yeah,
Heck yeah.
and then you got some real momentum. Hopefully you don't stumble there up at Ross-Ade Stadium, and obviously you look at that Michigan game is the big one there. But yeah, I it's definitely possible. It definitely is.
Here's what I'll say, um, Javon. I'm going to give you and everybody else a little hope. And it has less to do with Nebraska and more to do with the national scene, but some of it has to do with Nebraska as well. So I'm not going to be able to run these numbers this year because they get kind of wiped out because of the COVID year in 2020, because there were short seasons. But for 3 years before that, I ran these numbers because I was interested to see how many teams in the Power Five had what I would consider to be a significantly different season than they did the year before. And the way I defined that, and everybody could have their own definition, but for me, I thought a good cutoff point was 3 games. How many teams were either 3 games better or 3 games worse than the year before? Because I think that's a pretty significant change. If you're a 6-6 team and you're 9-3 the next year, that's
Pretty
pretty
good.
significant jump. If you're 3-9, you go to 6-6, etc. So I kind of use three games, at least 3 wins, increase or decrease as the barometer. Now we all think of college football as really not changing, but that I think has been put into our heads by the elites. Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, to a lesser extent, Georgia, Oklahoma in the last 6-7 years. They haven't changed. They're always there. But everybody else, there's a lot of fluctuation. So I ran those numbers for 3 consecutive years I was just curious, out of the 65 Power 5 teams, how many of them drastically changed the next year? And I didn't expect to see the numbers I did. Between 18 and 23 teams, those 3 seasons. So we're talking about a third of the teams have a pretty drastic increase or decrease from season to season. Well, when you look at Nebraska, they would be a prime candidate for that. They won 3 games that they just blew out the other team. So those were 3 solid wins. Their other games, as we talked about a million times last year, and the rest of the nation did too, when you talk about Nebraska football, were 1-score games. Now, I'm not going to go overboard and say just because they played within 1 score of those teams that they should have won those games. Well, there was a reason they were 1 score behind, but still 1 score.
Lots of reasons.
The Michigan State game was excruciatingly close. There were some of them that were like 1 score. Okay, they played well, they were close, like the Oklahoma game. But I at least came away from that game thinking, yeah, Nebraska could have won that game, but Oklahoma was the better team. But I came away from like the Michigan State game thinking they should have won that game. They gave up a punt return with about 4 minutes left in the game. They went to overtime. They didn't give up a first down the entire second half. They should have won that game. They had games like that. So
out of found ways to lose.
They had 9 of those. If they can be realistic, 5 of them, they're 8-4.
And I mean, obviously, watching all those games, you like to think that they're addressing that and have done everything they can, which that arrow points straight at the special teams, which have really, really been a problem here. And I wonder how they can, have stats on that and blame special teams. I wonder how many of those losses are blamed on the special teams. If there was an official stat for that, you know what I mean? But special teams and turnovers, obviously, and penalties. It's stuff that is dumb and is fixable stuff. And when you're talking about one score games, obviously you're looking at all those mistakes and you do everything possible to fix that. And I think they've done that. Well, at least they've tried to do that. We'll see how it all looks here. February 20 whatever, 7th or I'm not sure, 8th, 28th.
USMC Sully, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate the contribution right there.
Ooh-ah.
So somebody asked, Mikey's Monarchs, do you see rule changes coming in the next season affecting the transfer portal? So my one thought about this is that they at least need to isolate this to a certain, just like NFL free agency, isolate it to maybe 2 windows during the year. And not just any day anybody can transfer or go into the transfer portal, I should say.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. I'm sure that, probably every head college football coach out there is talking to somebody about making changes because they don't like the way it is right now, obviously. So
maybe a window after the season. National championship game's over.
Yeah.
You've got 30 days.
I think
then maybe after spring practice, when these guys can size up where they stand, 30 days again.
I mean, I obviously I think it should be shut off during the season. I think if you start the season at a school, you should probably remain there. And then, like you said, have a couple of windows like that in those kind of key spots. I think that would be great. Now, can they agree on that? Who knows? And how long would that take to go into effect? But it's going to be a process. It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out, obviously.
So, Greg, give us a feel for a lot of people that aren't familiar. And I can't say that I've gone out myself and covered these. I don't remember back in my days of, going to the games and being on the field for practice and all that business. That was a long time ago. For these junior days, one this past weekend and one coming up this weekend.
Well, those are internal events. Yeah, those are just basically, the coaches and the player representatives, grad assistants and stuff. They have everybody comes down to campus and they have lunch and whatever, barbecues and kind of like seminars and all that stuff. So the media is not around at that. You're not allowed to. You can't talk to a recruit when they're on campus. That's an NCAA violation. So media is not allowed at that stuff. Now we can go to camps, but you can't be on the field. You have to follow all the rules of NCAA compliance, and the schools all have their compliance officers out there, and they make sure that the media is hands off. So you can't have any contact with any of those kids when they're on campus. So, but I mean, it's like a big meet and greet, and they show you around and schmooze you, and they'll have big video presentations up on the big screens in the stadium, and they'll put uniforms on all the kids and take their photos and do all their social media stuff with them. And so I mean, it's just a big kind of a hype train, and they'll crank up all the noise in the stadium and turn on all the lights, and and like I said, wine and dine them and let them get to know Lincoln a little bit and see campus and check out all the academics and everything. So it's a cool event for the kids, obviously. So yeah, but we have to wait, until they're done to get a hold of the kids and find out how it all went.
Folks, we appreciate you being here. And you can help us build the show organically by just going out there on social media, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, and who knows what other social media platforms are out there that I'm not aware of, and letting people know that we're here every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock Central Time, 6 Central every Tuesday night. We've done it for 53 weeks with Greg and myself talking Nebraska football. We would love to build the show and continue forward. So please bring some folks in here. Let them know that we're talking Nebraska football every Tuesday at 6 Central.
I see Sam's comment there about Jaquez Yant. Oh, my goodness. I'm surprised Moonbot hasn't said anything about the pictures of Mr. Yant, about the Yanty there working out. He does look like Derrick Henry. I mean, he is huge.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been tweeting that stuff out. So, yeah.
Greg, I'm going to throw 3 guys at you who are still on the board for 2022. And if you're not familiar with them, of course, we'll just let it go. But if you have any thoughts on these 3 that I see online as being guys that Nebraska might be interested in. So player number 1 would be Devin Smith. He's a linebacker out of Jacksonville, Florida. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah, they've been recruiting him pretty heavily. I know there's several other suitors, but yeah, there's Nebraska's got a chance in there. We'll kind of see how things go throughout this last full week of recruiting, and obviously a possibility.
Now, here's a player that we've talked about in the past out of Louisiana, former LSU commit Trevante Citizen, the running back out of Lake Charles.
Pretty much no shot. Yeah,
okay.
That one not probably not going to happen. He didn't visit here, and now if he would have made his way to Lincoln, there'd be a different story there. But his relationship with Mickey Joseph at least kept Nebraska then in like his top 8 there. A school that he knew nothing about a couple of months ago. So props to Mickey Joseph for at least getting him to look at Nebraska.
Avery Powell's a cornerback out of New Jersey City, New Jersey.
Another kid that they do have a shot with. They've done pretty well in the state of New Jersey throughout almost any coaching staff, and that's always been a high area that they target. And we talked about the secondary room earlier, that they've already added a lot of firepower there. But Travis Fisher always likes when he likes a guy, he's a hard guy to say no to, and has a pretty good track record of coaching DBs.
Powell's 5'9", 170, not the biggest guy, but of course he'll fill out. And he's a top 20 rated player in the state of New Jersey.
I think he's a return guy too.
Okay. Also getting big looks from Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Penn State, and Wisconsin. So nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a numbers game right now. So obviously it's hard to say no to a guy that the other teams are coveting. And we'll see how this works out here. If anything, maybe we'll see some fireworks come next week. You never know. You never know. And right now, Nebraska is going to keep taking guys, and you work the numbers out later. That's kind of the philosophy right now because of all this craziness that we've been talking about with the transfer portal. So as you're going into spring ball, you kind of want to be over that 85 scholarship limit right now. It'd kind of be a nice spot to be sitting about 3 or 4 over that number entering spring ball here.
All right, folks, so much going on. We got personnel changes to talk about each and every week, including this one. So we appreciate everybody being here. So for those of you who just joined us in the last few minutes, and that's quite a few, as we have topped 100 here in just the last several minutes, understand that the video will post here in a few minutes. So catch what you missed and make it on back next Tuesday at 6 Central Time. Greg, anything else out of you?
I think that's about all I got tonight.
That's quite a bit. Quite a bit. Good show. Good show. Appreciate everybody being here. Come on back next Tuesday at 6 Central. Nebraska Cornhuskers live. This guy makes it all happen each and every week. 53 consecutive weeks with Greg. Catch his work. Husker Online video right here on YouTube. All right, Greg. Good to see you. And we'll catch up next week.
Sounds good. All right.